It was recently revealed in the novelization of The Rise of Skywalker that Palpatine originally had plans to try and create a Force Dyad connection with Anakin, but it was not successful. What is good, everybody? It's your boy Darth, and in this video we're going to talk about what we know about the Force Dyad connection and why Anakin and Palpatine could not share this bond, and just why this bond is so special. Now, in the passage, it is also said that Darth Plagueis and Palpatine also try to create this bond, and the rule of two is the substitution for the Sith if the dyad is not able to be created. The rule of two is almost always what happens for the Sith due to the fact on how rare this Force Dyad connection is, and that's why the fact that Kylo and Rey share this connection is so unique and so special. Now, we have seen this before in the Force between Revan and Bastilla. They do have a Force Dyad connection, but it is very rare. Now, I want to discuss my personal thoughts on why at least Anakin and Palpatine could not recreate this bond together, and I'm going to use both examples of the connection that we already know and how it makes sense that Anakin and Palpatine could not share it. Now, starting off with Revan and Bastilla, they are the first example that we know of having this connection in the Force, and it happens when Revan is killed and Bastilla revives him. She gives him a second chance at life, and Revan reverts back to the light. And even though Bastilla also turns to the dark after this, she is eventually saved by Revan and returns back to the light. Now, that is a very brief and vague summary, but if you take their story, it's very similar to the story of Rey and Kylo. You have Rey, who is a light side user and sometimes has temptations from the dark. Then you have Kylo, who's a dark side user who is always conflicted between the light and the dark. And it's just really interesting that both Force Dyad connections that we have are very similar situations between the two Force users, where there's a balance in the Force and there's also some type of affection between the two Force users. Now, when we look at Kylo and Rey specifically, they have a lot of history. They have more history than at least I know personally between Revan and Bastilla. You guys can maybe correct me. But if you look at it, Kylo killed Rey's parents, and he is the grandson of Anakin Skywalker, and she is the granddaughter of Palpatine. So there is some history there, but nonetheless, the connection between both Force Dyad users in both situations are very similar. At the end of the day, we don't have any concrete proof on how the Force Dyad connection exists, but I wanted to kind of theorize and take what we know about both cases where this connection does exist, and look at Anakin and Palpatine, and then Plagueis and Palpatine for that matter as well, and why it wasn't able to happen. Now, if you look at Anakin and Palpatine, Anakin is a dark side user who is conflicted by the light, and Palpatine is just pure evil. So if you think about what we know with both connections, there's a balance in the Force and there's some affection there. If you look at Anakin and Palpatine, that definitely doesn't exist. And then if you look at Plagueis and Palpatine, that also doesn't exist, as well. So it's definitely very interesting. Now, one thing I do want to mention though, if you look at The Empire Strikes Back, Anakin does have some type of Force bond with Luke. It's not quite a Force Dyad, but he can talk to him through the Force in The Empire Strikes Back. And if you think about it, they do have that connection that both situations with the Force Dyad have. You have Anakin, who's a dark side user and he's conflicted, and then you have Luke, who is pure of heart and for the light. Now, the only thing I can't really tell is if there needs to be confliction or not between the dark side user, because both cases have it, but both cases also have a balance between the light and the dark side, so it's hard to say. But after everything that we've kind of theorized and compared and contrast, we can definitely say that Anakin and Palpatine could not create this bond because their situation was so different from both Force Dyad connections that exist. There's no balance and there's no affection either. If you think about it, Anakin deep down inside despises Palpatine for what he did to Anakin. He turned him to the dark side, Padme still died, and he just ruined his life overall. So there's no affection, there's no balance in the Force, and it's not able to happen. Now, like I said, it's just a theory, and I'm just kind of giving my opinion on these things because I'm taking things that we know and kind of comparing and contrasting them to the two situations that we know of people trying to create this bond and it failing, and looking at why it failed. And I just thought it was really interesting. I watched Star Wars Theory video where he had the novelization of The Rise of Skywalker, and it was like page 200 and something. It's right where Palpatine takes, the life force out of both Ben and Rey, and he talks about it, and it's mentioned that, he tried to create this bond with Anakin, and Plageus and Palpatine also tried to create this bond. So I thought that was really interesting. I started thinking about it, and this is what I came up with. And I want to know what you guys think about it. Do you agree with me that it seems there needs to be a balance in the Force and some type of affection between the Force users for this bond to exist? Or do you think it's just a coincidence? Do you think there was potential for Palpatine and Anakin to create this bond? Same with Plagueis and Palpatine. Or do you think that there was no way that the balance would be there and the affection was just not there, so it was never going to happen? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, because this is really fun to look at, and maybe somewhere down the line, you never know now with Star Wars, since Disney's taken over, every time there's a plot hole, they kind of find a way to just throw it out there and try and fix it, even if it's, a lot of time has passed, or even if it doesn't really seem like it can make sense, they kind of force it. So I wonder if we will ever find out exactly how the Force Dyad connection exists and how it's able to be created. Hopefully we do. But this was a lot of fun. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, may the Force be with you. I'll see you guys next time.